Shalom, y'all. Welcome to ReligionWinked TV, where my spiritual ears stay. Guys, I'm going on a little early this morning, about an hour early East Coast time. Normally, the morning read is between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., give or take. But today it's going down at 5 a.m. East Coast time, well, 5:10. Um, Again, welcome to this edition of the Morning Read, episode 51, y'all. Oh, no. Yeah. 52. Excuse me. Episode 52. I'm losing track, y'all. We've been doing it so long, right? Like, who cares? Just get up and read the Bible. You don't got to label it, right? Anyway, we get up, guys, because we know some people get up and read people to filth. But we like to get up and read people to life. That's life more abundantly. We know Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And if you begin to walk in his ways, you'll learn of his truth and you'll begin to live his life. All right. Also, we know people cannot physically see to read the Bible. They can literally read to comprehend and hear the word for themselves. And then you just got rebellious souls out here that are lost through church hurt, abuse, being angry at God for whatever reason, and they refuse to read the Bible. And then you just got some people out here that think they know it all, right? And they won't come toward God because they think they are God. So we have to speak to these people. We have to let our ancestors know that we are still following the way. And we also have to let the people of today know that there is a living God that our ancestors used to follow. And reading this word helps us understand how they lived and probably how we should still be living today. Isn't that what tradition is? Isn't that what culture is? Isn't that what heritage and inheritances are? Where your ancestors started off doing one thing and you carry the tradition. How do we start off being Hebrew Israelites and then we end up being black people reading a Greek Bible serving a white God? Something in that word ain't clean right there, y'all. So, with that being said, this is Religion Link TV and my spiritual ears stay. We're gonna get right into First Kings chapter 5, 6, and 7. Let me go ahead and pull some information up for you all, and we'll get ready to read. Right? I appreciate your time. I'm sure God does. I'm sure if you've been hanging out under this word, you have been getting your daily bread here. I'm not going to serve it on a platter like the Romans did with your head, but I'm going to give it to you as simplistic as I can, hoping that I don't confuse you with this word and you're able to open up your blind eyes and your deaf ears to hear what thus saith the Lord. Are we on one accord right now? If we're not, guess what? You can go back to March 2nd, go in my playlist over there in the morning reads. We've been reading aloud since March 2nd, Deuteronomy chapter 5. And when we get done with today's read, we're going to complete First Kings chapter 7. Now, that's being on one accord with me and the readers on YouTube. You want to be on one accord with the Most High God, I suggest you go back to Genesis 1 and 1 in the beginning. Or sometimes I'll suggest you go to Revelations 12, because to me that seems like it happened before Genesis 1 and 1. Neither here nor there. Not trying to confuse you guys, but you got to begin to understand that this Bible was constructed by the hands of man, meaning God didn't print this Bible. He inspired the words, but man had his hands on the Bible. He could have put the beginning and the end and the end and the beginning and the beginning and the middle just to confuse you. And that's what we have in the church, right? A whole bunch of confusion. So again, let me cancel out of here. Here we go, buffering, guys. I want to wait. Let me give you some more music. Hopefully by the time it runs through, I'm able to access my screen. Anyway, give you a backdrop, Solomon is on the scene, the son of King David. David just passed away, ordained his son as king, and Solomon has now established his throne. And I would like to encourage you, anybody under the sound of my voice, to start establishing your kingdom in the earth again. I mean, the only person who will tell a black person they can't reign as king is who? A white person, right? So you have to be courageous in the midst of white people and start building your own foundation again, what which was taken from you and being lived out by the European, Caucasian, American, Anglo-Saxon, white people of the world. That's your life. Stolen identity at its best. So with that being said, guys, I still cannot get, I want to share this. I have to share this. Anyway, it's buffering. The internet is on. It's kind of a real chill, cool morning. So let me see. If I can't get my screen to come up, I'll just go ahead and start reading. And basically, King Solomon is seated on the throne, and he is going to, start to rule over Israel. Let me pull up my chat box. Here we go. Yeah, episode 52. Yay. All right, guys. So we have to get into the read. Unfortunately, I cannot show you my screen. Oh, it's kind of sucks, guys. Ugh. All right. So anyway, verse 5, chapter 5, verse 1. We are in the first book of Kings, chapter 5, verse 1. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of King David. 2. And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, 3. Thou knowest how that David my father could not build an house unto the name of the Lord his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. Verse 4. But now the Lord my God hath given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurring. Thank you to the 2 people watching. I appreciate you. So, here's Solomon is saying, you know what? My dad was so busy, King David, fighting all these wars, had all these enemies, had to fight all these ites, like the Canaanites, Jebusites, Pezerites, Hittites, and all those people, right? He's saying, I have peace now. I don't have no adversary, and there's no evil around me occurring, so I'm going to build a temple to the Lord. And verse 5, and behold, I purpose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom will I set upon thy throne in thy room? He shall build an house unto my name. Verse 6, now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees of Lebanon, and of my servants shall be with me, thy servants, and unto thee will I give hire for thy servants according to all that thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill so hew timber like unto the Sidonians. They were good with wood. Some people were good with the iron, the blacksmiths of that day. Other people were good with wood. Different skills then, like people are skilled in different things today, right? So verse 7 goes on to say, and it came to pass when Hiram heard the words of Solomon that he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which hath given unto David a wise son over this great people. Blessed unto him this day, right? All right, so we're still buffering there, guys. I'll just go ahead. Hey, I'm just saying good morning. How are you? Welcome. I came a little earlier today because I have something to do in like a couple of hours or whatever, and I didn't want to get caught up and not be able to do the read. So here we are. Welcome. So verse 8 goes on to say, And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I have considered these things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all the desire concerning timber of cedar and concerning timber of fir. So he worked with two different kinds of woods here. 9. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by the sea in floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt perceive them. And thou shalt accomplish my desires in giving food for my household. Like, that's all I want is a little food for my household. I'll do all of this for you, but just give me the desires of my heart. And that's just a little food for my family. See, some people are very, very simple in this world, and other people are very, very extravagant. To do this kind of work, they want the house, car, boat, bank accounts, and everything else. All this man wants is a little food for his family. Right? So it goes on to say, 10. So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desires. 11. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year. So this went on year by year. It wasn't like a one-time thing. He was basically sustaining this man year after year after year, making sure him and his family had food for the kind gesture he did toward King Solomon, right? It's about a kind heart, y'all. I don't care how mean this world be to you. If you could find it in your heart somehow to be kind to the evil of this world, vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. It may not happen now, today, but 20 years down the road, you'll hear about so-and-so who did you dirty, who treated you like dirt. You know, you don't have to lift a finger toward these people. All you have to do is pray with a pure heart that they find their way to Christ or to the Most High God. That's it. You don't got to wish. You can't fight evil with evil, first of all, because Beelzebub will never cast out his own, right? But you can pray for your enemy, that God will make them prepare you a table in the presence of them and make them your footstool. So with that being said, verse 12, and the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he promised him, and there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and the two made a league together. God says he'll use your enemies to bless you. And here you see Solomon hooking up with Hiram. They're not of the same tribes. They've been fighting throughout the years with the children of Israel. Remember, we read Solomon went down into Pharaoh's house, into Egypt, and made peace with him. So Solomon is being wise. I know that's right. Karma is real. Absolutely. Yep, it sure is. You don't have to do anything. People will say, oh, that's black magic. You wishing, you cursing people. Why? When it says it right here in the Bible, pray for your enemies, that you be the children of God, and he will heap coals of fire on their head. And that's what I do. I don't go out and say, oh, I wish you get hit by a bus. I hope you die. No. Your heart ain't no purer than the person that's bothering you. But there's really a way to put it in the hands of God when it comes to your enemies. And he says, I'll make your enemies at peace with you. Have you experienced that? So, verse 13 goes on to say, and King Solomon raised the levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. 14, and he sent them to Lebanon 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home, and Adoniram was over their levy. 15, and Solomon had 70,000 that bear burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountains. 16. And we have to go to verse 18. Besides the chief of Solomon's officers, which were over the work, there 3,300 which ruled over the people that wrought in the work. 17. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones to lay the foundation of the house. In the last verse of chapter 5, verse 18, and Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers, meaning the Gibeonites, okay, so to prepare timber and stones to build the house. So we're listening here how the temple that Solomon built the Lord, how the foundation is being laid, how everybody is doing their part and coming together to work on behalf of the Lord, to build a house, a temple, a place of worship. Because remember, Christ says the temple of the Lord is a house of prayer, not a den of thieves. But when you look out into some churches, it's a den of thieves, and there's clearly no prayer going on there because the pastor can't even keep from cheating on his wife with the deacon's wife. Things like that still go on in the church, people. And we have to act like we can't act like it doesn't. It does. That's how I know people play church and they don't take the word of God serious. Because first and foremost, we all human and we all make mistakes. But when you became a pastor, you know what the word of God allegedly should say, and we should do our best not to break the commandments of the law of the Lord. So moving right into chapter 6, verse 1, and we have about 38 verses. This is a big read. We've been having kind of smaller reads. So this one is kind of larger because chapter 7 has like 51 verses, but we'll get through it. So we were close to 100 verses here this morning. Usually we go 70, 80, somewhere like that. So chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 418th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of, is it going to say Egypt? 418 years after the 418th year, after they was removed from Egypt. I'm trying to put something else together in my head. Because these people were in Egypt for 430 years plus slavery. And the people over here, our ancestors was in slavery for 430 plus years. There's no coincidence, people, that we are the same people. So, and it came to pass in the 418th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, to the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph. See, what happened to those months? We have January, February, March, April, May, June. What happened to God's calendar? What happened to the real beginning of the new year, which is not January 1st? These are things, people, we got to wake up to. They not living the word. That's true. That's true. I'm just saying. And people in church, they go for it. It's like either they don't know the word themselves, or they trust pastors so much, or they just think they're supposed to be sheep led any which way that the pastor want to lead them. People, you have a right to stand up in this word and take accountability for your own spirituality. If you're not getting it in church, you don't have to be rude or disrespectful to the pastor, but go home and study and learn. And maybe you can take that spirit with you back to church, and then start to go out into the church, and maybe it'll jump on pastor, and then people will start to come back to the word. Because right now, some people in church are so far away from what the word of God is really saying. Verse 2 goes on to say, and the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length thereof was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits. 3. And the porch before the temple of the house 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. 4. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. 5. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about. Both of the temple and of the oracle he made chambers round about. Verse 6. And we have to go to verse 38. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. And within the wall of the house he made narrow rest round about. Now, guys, I told you there's certain ways that like time, if you want to say like Martin Luther King 5 score years ago, 1 score equal 20 years, 5 times 20 equal 100 years. So that's how they measure like time, how kings reign. They reign for say 1 score and 2 years, that would be 22 years. I'm still working on cubits. I do have the measurements written down, but I'm not gonna, get into that right now. That's kind of like another teaching, but it's all metrical. It's the metric system. It's how God used to measure things back in the day. So 5, and against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle, and he made chambers round about. 6. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For with for without in the wall of the house he made narrow rests round about, that he that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. Wow, that's unique. But outside of we're gonna read it. I believe we're gonna get into it, and I believe it was Solomon or one of these kings in the Bible. I don't think it's one of the original 7 wonders in the world. It may be, but there was like this hanging garden or something. Hopefully we get into it and read it. If not, I'll do a little research. But it's like a real unique wonder of the world. And one of these kings in the Bible did something for their wives or concubines or something. But we'll get into it. Hopefully before we end the book of Kings, because I believe it was either David or Solomon, but I didn't read it with David. So hopefully we can read it with Solomon. But it's a really unique wonder of the world. It really is. Excuse me. Let me get some tea here. And we're going to read verse 8. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with the winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third. This sounds like it's going to be remarkable. Remarkable. You can see how it's setting up, right? 9. So he built the house and finished it, and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. 10. And then he built chambers against all the house, 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with the timber of cedar. Verse 11. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, you want to hear what thus saith the Lord? When you listen to them prophets out there, right? See what thus saith the Lord, they can actually find in this word. What did we just read in 11? And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying what? So that would be what thus saith the Lord, right? And so all I'm doing to you right now is about to tell you what thus saith the Lord, right? And I only consider myself a child of God. I'm not a prophet. See, prophets are telling you their own opinions out here in the world, but very little of them are saying what thus saith the Lord. So in verse 12, it goes on saying, concerning this house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then will I perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father. That's a simple what thus saith the Lord. Lord says, if you obey my statutes, my judgments, walk in my ways. Right here. I will perform my word. Who wants God to perform their word in their life today? Start to obey the judgments, the commandments, the ordinances, the laws, the statutes of God. I know it's easier, y'all, to do the two Christ said to do, which is in the New Testament. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. I'm just saying, if you're still in here, right? and somebody, your neighbor, killed one of your kids, intentionally, spitefully, tell you with a wicked heart he gonna do it. You gotta love your neighbor. Yes, there is forgiveness, but all I'm saying is the reason why our community is the way it is because when people came through this land abusing nations, abusing people, we allowed it to go on because we was taught on the plantation to love our neighbor. And it was our neighbor that was doing all the wicked shit to us on the slave man's plantation. I don't care. I'm going to say what I got to say. You don't, I mean, that that's just, because see, even in the Bible, they said, servants, obey your masters. So if you're on a plantation and your master is abusing you, you know what that verse goes on to say? In the singleness of eye, fearing God. So we have